Hey everyone, I'm back with another top 10. So many underrated JRPGs out there. So many. But listen to this. For a JRPG to be underrated, it needs to be really good. Like for example, I don't know, there was one particular game that used to be so underrated before, and now it's not that much. Now it's a pretty well-known JRPG. And that is Radiant Historia for the Nintendo DS. That is a great game, an awesome game, but it's not gonna be on this list because I don't consider that game to be underrated anymore. And also, there are a lot of games, there are good games, but not that good. They have their own flaws and all that stuff. So they can't be underrated even though they are unknown or they are hidden gems. They are maybe not underrated because they're not that great. For a game to be underrated, it's because people feel these games have the need to be more appreciated, more well known, and more loved. So these are my 10 top 10 JRPGs that I chose for this video that, in my opinion, need to be recognized. They need to stop being underrated and become well-known, respected JRPGs. So let's begin. Alright, so let's start with the most obvious one. Shadow Hearts 1 and 2. There is a trilogy for the PS2 of these games, but only the first two are considered to be underrated, since they are extremely good, dark, original and beautiful. Covenant is a direct sequel of the first game, and they are both based during the First World War, and you get to visit many different countries from Europe and also many different cities from Japan. They did a wonderful job recreating the architecture style of that time. Now, the third one, Shadow Hearts from the New World, is a decent game, but it doesn't have anything to do with the first two anymore. And it's not that good. Hopefully, these two masterpieces are going to be just like Radiant Historia soon, because they're starting to be more and more well known each year, and that's fantastic. They are both awesome JRPGs, and I totally recommend them. Number 9. Suikoden III. Yeah, we all know that Suikoden II is one of the best JRPGs ever, and I'd like to add Suikoden V to that statement. I could have put 5 on this list, but I believe it's also pretty well known. Not as known as the second one though, but known nonetheless. And it's my personal favorite, by the way, one of the greatest JRPGs of all time, in my opinion. But what about Suikoden III? It feels as if not too many people play this game, and is often overlooked because of that. So let me tell you that this is another masterpiece, and I think it's the most underrated of the entire canon series. I'm not mentioning Suikoden 1 or 4 because I think they are more common and they are not as good as the others. But Suikoden 3 could easily compete with 2 and 5, and I think it's a great JRPG. To make it even better, you get to play the game through 4 characters, meaning you get 4 different points of view. None of the other Suikoden games are like that, so I totally recommend this one. Number 8. Luffia II: Rise of the Sinistrals. The Luffia games are classics. But if you watch my Rage Quit video, you might have realized that I'm not too fond of the first entry of the series. But Luffia II blew my mind when I first played it. I consider this to be one of the greatest JRPGs for the SNES, and I think it's pretty underrated. Luffia II: Rise of the Sinistrals, whose real name in Japan is
Est Polis Denki, which means Biography of Est Polis, is a prequel to the first game, and I'm so damn glad that they took off the random encounters that were so freaking annoying in the first Luffia. Well, at least in the dungeons. Why this game is called Luffia II, I have no idea, since Luffia is the main female character from the first game, but whatever. This is a great JRPG, so if you're into Super Nintendo RPGs, then you must have heard of this. Totally underrated. Number 7. Fate Extra. I've talked already about this masterpiece of the Fate/stay night universe in my hidden JRPG gems for the PSP. You know, there are a lot of games from this series, but most of them are either fighting games or visual novels. Fate Extra, however, is a turn-based JRPG with strategy elements. Not too many are familiar with it, and that's what makes it underrated. It's a very cool turn-based RPG with a very original and rather unique battle system that will hook you up no matter what. It may have some repetitive gameplay at times, but trust me, it's extremely addicting. This is one of the best PSP games I've played in my life, and one of my personal favorites of all time. I like the anime, especially Fate Zero, and this game, which could be considered a spin-off of the series, doesn't stay behind at all. So even if you're not a fan of the series, definitely play this game, because it's so original and it's amazing. Totally an underrated PSP game. Number 6. Shinmeitensei Devil Summoner Soul Hackers. Man, we all know the Shin Megami Tensei series have some pretty underrated games in its library, but you might be surprised to know that a very recent game, which is Soul Hackers, for the 3DS, is very underrated. It is the second entry of the Devil Summoner series, and you might also be surprised to know that this came before the famous Devil Summoner games for the PS2. This game originally came out for the Sega Saturn in 1997, ported to the PS1 2 years later. Sadly, these two versions never came out of Japan. So finally, after so many years, we got this port of the Nintendo 3DS, and guess what? It's amazing! Usually, I dislike dungeon crawlers and first person because they're so goddamn tedious and repetitive, and even though this game has some annoying stuff of that too, I still found it extremely good. Totally an underrated gem. Number 5. Baiton Kaitos. So many hidden gems videos have this game on them, and also some other underrated lists. I am proud to be yet another one of those people that includes this beautiful masterpiece on his list. Baiton Kaitos Eternal Wings and the Lost Ocean is a wonderful turn-based JRPG that uses a cool and original battle system that involves the use of cards for everything: attacking, defending, healing, and magic. The story of this awesome game is so cool that you will find yourself playing it for that sole reason. And also the graphics. All the scenery in this game is fantastic, and the people who have played it will tell you exactly the same. Unfortunately, I cannot say the same thing about the prequel, Baiton Kaitos Origins. That one is another awesome game, but it's ruined by, well, a certain boss battle. Watch my Rage Quit video and you'll see why. But this one is awesome. Number 4. Bandal Hearts. This game rocks. Bandal Hearts is one of the most amazing strategy RPGs for the PS1, and it's totally a hidden underrated gem. I have already covered it on my hidden JRPG gems for the PS1 video, and also on another video that I made about the best strategy JRPGs that I have ever played. So this is the third time I'm talking about this masterpiece. The game is dynamic. Not all missions are about killing all enemies. And the story is really good. In my opinion, there is only one particular problem with this JRPG. It's too short. I beat this game in around 18 hours or so, and I was left wanting for more. I know there's a sequel and also a third entry on the series that recently came out for the PS3 digitally, but man, I really wanted this game to be longer. It doesn't ruin the experience though, so I strongly recommend playing this game to everyone. And number 3 goes to Hexis Force. Another game that I've covered in my PSP Hidden Gems video. Hexis Force. Hexis Force. What a strange name. But despite that, it's really interesting. You've got the classic two-story arc with two main characters to choose from, and they're both as good as the other and different, which is why I liked it so much. I've heard that a lot of people complain about the game being too easy, but I disagree with that. I didn't find it that hard, but it was certainly not easy at all. It's a pretty fun JRPG and, in my personal opinion, one of the best for the PSP. Underrated gem. Like many other titles of this list, Hexis Force is starting to be well known among JRPG gamers, but it's still more unknown than all the previous titles on this list. So therefore, I highly recommend it. Play this game, it's so underrated. Number 2. Eternal Poison. If you watch some of my other videos, you may have seen that I seem to talk about this game a lot. Okay, I hope this is the last time. But seriously, I just can't get enough about this game and there's just a lot to say about it. It seems like I will complain forever about the fact that Eternal Poison is very, very underrated and a lot of people have never even heard of it. So I hope that by spamming my love for this game in a bunch of my videos might make people finally get their hands on it and appreciate it. Because it is one of the most original and dark strategy RPGs that I've ever played in my life. Seriously, I love this game. So many characters to choose from, so many points of views, so many subplots, great soundtrack, wonderful story, fantastic voice acting. What more could you ask for in a JRPG? I know the game is a little tough, but that's just like its only flaw. Come on, give this game a chance. And number 1 goes to Growlancer. Finally, another strategy JRPG that I talk about a lot. But that's also because it's truly a masterpiece, and it's the best in the entire series, in my opinion. If you know this saga, you might be acquainted with the fact that the first and the last titles never left Japan. The reason why is because the entire franchise is extremely, and I mean extremely underrated. That's why this awesome game is on the first place. Because not only is it underrated, but also because it's one of the best JRPGs that I have ever played. I can't believe not too many people know this game, even though they are familiar with Growlancer 4 for the PSP or Growlancer Generations also for the PS2. You've got an amazing long story with multiple points of view, 3 story arcs with different characters that come before the main story, and also 3 others to unlock once you've met certain conditions. Like that doesn't sound awesome to you? I will never get tired of recommending this game. Never. Anyway guys, thanks for watching and be prepared for my next video because it will be the most overrated video game JRPG games ever. See you next time.